let's learn Memento. This is normally where I do something thematic to the archetype, but I don't really know what this is. I mean, look at this. These are skeletons or something? I don't know. I guess I could do something with skeletons. I know a thing or two about skeletons. Welcome back to Let's Learn, YugiTube's most memorable deck building show. I'm Hardleg Joe, if you didn't know, and today we're learning Memento, which is a new archetype just released on Master Duel that's been often requested of me, and that is about all I know of this. I really haven't faced it on the ladder. I have no idea what the effects do, because this is a blind deck building show. I'm going to be going in here, reading over all these cards for the first time, and trying to see if I can use my years of Yu-Gi-Oh experience to evaluate these cards, to figure out how they work. As a result, this will not be the best Memento deck, but it should teach you how to build a deck. So if you're new to the game and you want to see how someone experienced gets it done, this should give you some insight. And you know, if you're just new to Memento in general, this should give you an idea of how the deck works. So if you do run up against it or want to play it in the future, you have some idea of what all the effects do. Now before we get into reading these cards, I should give a special thanks to this episode's sponsor, me. I made this. I did it all on my own. I didn't need any sponsors or anything. And if you appreciate that, consider joining the Patreon. Patreon.com/HardlegGaming. There's a link down the description. Just $1 would really help out. There's higher rewards if you want to go higher, but you know, $1 just makes me smile. So if you appreciate that, consider doing that. Otherwise, let's go ahead and meme into Memento with the spinning. I hope there's a spin transition here somewhere. Alright, so first things first, anytime you're trying to learn an archetype, there is one place you should always start, one specific kind of card that usually centralizes all the effects of an archetype. Chat, do you want to tell people what kind of card that is?
Field spell? Field spell. Field spell. Field spell. Field spell.
That's right, it's the field spell, and fortunately this time, Memento does have a field spell. Memento Mictalin. I'm not good at like Aztec writing. I think this is based on Aztec. That's what chat was saying earlier. Either way, they've got a field spell. It's got a big bony skeleton throne. And let's see what it does. If your Memento monster battles, your opponent cannot activate any spell traps until the end of the damage step. Ah, ancient gears. If a monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target one of those monsters, special summon one Memento with a level lower from your hand or graveyard. You can only use this effect once per turn. Also once per turn, during your end phase, you could target one Memento spell trap in your graveyard and set it. Alright, so an interesting trio of effects. The first one is not specifically unique, it just seems like a little bonus effect. I mean, we do have a 5,000 attacker, so it's good to know that your opponent can't mirror force it for all the good that does in the modern game. And same thing with the third effect. Being able to set a spell trap during the end phase is some nice recursion, but it doesn't feel like something that you would build a deck around, especially since we can already see there's only 2 traps and a quick play spell. Well, I guess I got 2 quick plays, 2 traps, so maybe that's a core function. But I think the main effect here is the middle one. Now that could be something that just lets you have some protection, some floating. You know, your opponent destroys one, you get another. But it seems like something that would be on an archetype that is themed around destruction. I'm thinking of Fire King Island, for example. That's another field spell that blows up your cards to do stuff, and it works in an archetype that wants to be blown up. So that's what I'm guessing right now. I think this is an archetype that wants to be blown up, that gets effects when they're blown up. But I guess we'll see. Alright, so after the field spell, usually the next step is to look for the boss monsters. What we're going to end on, what's going to be our win condition for the deck. And we have 2 options here. It could be the Soul Fusion monster, or it could be the big level 11 monster. And the fact that there's only one fusion monster makes me think maybe this is more of like an extender or a combo piece or an alternate boss monster, especially because it has a lower level and lower attack than this big guy does, the thing, the combined creation, that's what we're gonna call it, because I can't pronounce that beginning part. But yeah, I think that this has to be it. Usually levels and attacks aren't super important on modern Yu-Gi-Oh cards because, you know, those things can just modulate, they can really be whatever. But if you're trying to evaluate where to start or what's the most important card, big level usually does still mean the bigger boss monster in a lot of cases. So let's go ahead and check out Combined Creation. This is a Worm Earth Effect monster, 5,000 both ways, and the following effect. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from your hand or graveyard by shuffling 5 other Memento monsters with different names from your hand and or graveyard into the deck/extra deck. While you control no other monsters, this card can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. And then once per turn, if your opponent activates a card or effect, you can special summon 1 Memento from your hand or graveyard. Alright, so a lot of interesting things going on here. The summoning condition is pretty nice. It's shuffle 5 Mementos from your graveyard, or you can use your hand, but realistically, you're probably going to want to load up on the graveyard. I'm imagining again that the other monsters are going to have some kind of destruction theme, so you're just going to want to destroy them over and over, fill up your graveyard to summon this thing. While you control no other monsters, it can attack everything once each, and with 5,000, that means if they've got like 2 or 3 monsters, this is just an OTK on itself. But then it's got this weird effect where if your opponent activates something, you can special summon another Memento. It's like, why would you want to summon another Memento? Don't you want this to be the only thing on the field? But maybe those other cards can like buff this somehow, or maybe they can get themselves off. Or maybe you have some effect that like you want to destroy a monster to use it as like the cost for an effect. So this will give you more cost, you don't have to destroy this. And then of course, if it is destroyed, then the field spell lets you summon anything, because it's any monster with a lower level, and this is the highest level. So there's definitely some potential here, as far as OTKing goes. No negations, no disruption, no real protection to speak of though, which is unfortunate. Perhaps that's where the spell traps and everything come in? Either way, I think the next thing we want to do is go ahead and check out this fusion monster. Even though we don't know how we make it, it's generic enough at 2 Memento monsters that it still might offer some hint as to what the win condition is. So we got Mementolin Twin Dragon, a level 7 Thunder Fusion effect with 2,800 attack, 2,100 defense, takes any 2 Memento monsters, and any monster destroyed by battle with your Memento is banished. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If this card is fusion summoned, destroy 1 Memento in your hand or face-up field. And if you do, add up to 2 Memento monsters with different names from your deck to your hand. If this fusion summon card is destroyed, you can special summon 1 level 6 or lower Memento from your graveyard. Alright, so this is not the boss monster. It's more of an extender, it looks like. Something that you want to go mid-combo to try to get you started, almost. Very weird. So it takes 2 Mementos plus a fusion, so you're using 3 cards. Maybe the fusion uses from the graveyard or something, or maybe it sends from the deck, and that's how you fill up the graveyard. That would be really cool. And then when it's fusion summoned, destroy 1 Memento and add 2 Memento. So then it's a 2 for 1. You're using 3 cards to get it, but then you use a 4th card to get 2 cards. It's really weird on card economy, but still probably good. And kind of weird effect that like it banishes whatever it destroys. My initial thing was like, oh, if you put this on the field with this, you could banish the whole field, except this can only attack everything if it's the only monster on the field. So kind of weird, but I guess it gives stuff for your other Mementos. I mean, you do have a 2850 attacker, 1800 attacker. Not really a whole lot of high stats, but maybe you can link? No, it's only with Mementos. Huh. It is worth mentioning that there are a couple cards that aren't in Master Duel yet, including this other fusion with 3000 attack. We will read those later, but right now we're building for Master Duel right now, so I want to stick with the stuff that's legal in Master Duel. We can see where this deck is going later, but for now I want to focus on what this can do, which is not a whole lot other than extend. Normally I like to wait on the spell traps, but the only way I can evaluate the strength of this card is to know how easy it is to fusion summon it, and if we can fusion summon other stuff. You know, if we can get to this really quickly and we can use it often and easily, if it uses cards from the graveyard, then this is like an absolute must include. Otherwise, it's a maybe. It's something you may want to include. So let's go ahead and check out Memento Fusion. This is a quick play spell card. Looks kind of like Gem Knight Fusion, a little bit. And during the main phase, you can fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as material, including a Memento monster. If a monster in your possession was destroyed by a card effect this turn, you can also shuffle Memento monsters from your graveyard into the deck as material. During the main phase, your main phase one, you can banish this card from your graveyard, destroy one monster you control, and if you do, add one Memento spell trap from your deck to your hand. You can only use each effect of Memento Fusion once per turn. Alright, so a lot here to break down. I almost wish that this had the Master Duel style text where it broke up all the effects into different things, because there's a lot here. The first part, of course, is that you can fusion summon any fusion monster as long as you use one Memento monster, which means it does open up to things like Dragostapelia, and most importantly, this thing, 3 monsters with different names, lets you draw and explode, has a whole bunch of attack. So if nothing else, you can run this in here, and yeah, we'll go ahead and Dragostapelia. Now granted, in order to summon Dragostapelia, you have to already have Memento Twin Dragon, and this is a once per turn, but it's also a quick play, so you can make this, use it to get a bunch of stuff, set another copy of it, and then during your opponent's turn, fuse into something that has an actual negate. Maybe there are some other targets that something will want to look into, but these two are common staples in fusion decks that might be able to work in here. Now, in addition to that, there certainly does seem to be a theme going on with destruction, because if one of your cards is destroyed, you can use cards in the graveyard by shuffling them into the deck, which is a bit unfortunate. I was really hoping it would use like one card from the deck or extra deck, because your boss monster wants to shuffle stuff from the graveyard back. So shuffling them back with this kind of feels like it's slowing down your win condition. But who knows, maybe the big dragon isn't necessarily what you want to be ending on. Maybe you want to be doing some other stuff. Either way, you can easily get into the materials, or even just like shuffle this back so you can summon it again. And then finally, it's got that third effect. You can banish this, destroy a monster you control, and add one Memento spell trap from your deck to your hand. So I'm definitely expecting these to do something when they're destroyed, or get some effect when they're destroyed. Who knows, maybe this is something where you're just destroying stuff to get it into the graveyard so you can fill things up for this, but that's at least the assumption. And as chat is pointing out, it doesn't say add one except itself, so you can search another Memento Infusion and absolutely do that thing I mentioned. So I think this is something you play at least 2. Maybe if it's a starter, you'll want a 3rd one. We'll put it in the side for now. Definitely consider that, but you can like fusion summon, set another copy of this during your opponent's turn, make one of these 2. So we've at least got some disruption here going first, which is important for a modern Yu-Gi-Oh deck. Memento Mace. This is a light fairy effect, 400 attack, 300 defense, level 1, and I can't tell if she's shushing us or she's like, no, you won't be activating effects today. We'll see. Although I will say, spiky boots. Is that what's going on there? There's some weird ass boots, I tell you what. I'm getting distracted by the art. During your opponent's main phase, if you control the combined creator, the big guy, quick effect, you can discard this card, target one face-up monster your opponent controls, take control of it until the end phase. During your main phase, you can destroy one Memento you control, and if you do, add one Memento from your deck to your hand, except for Mace. You can only use each effect once per turn. Alright, so let's go ahead. I was correct. This is your searcher. Destroy one Memento, add one Memento. Let's check that again real quick. Destroy one Memento you control and add one. Okay, so it can destroy itself to get something. You have to use your normal summon, at least so far. We don't have any way to special summon them. But it's good to know that it can just be used on itself, get something in the graveyard. Although, let me read this again. Alright, so it doesn't trigger the field spell because this is level 1 and there's no such thing as a level 0 monster. Not yet, at least. But it does at least get you going, and then that first effect is just like a neat little bonus. If you have this in your hand and you happen to have this, then you just got a quick effect snatch steal. Just quick effect change of heart. Just steal your monster until the end of the turn. And with how many things that, like, you know, then you can use your fusion to destroy it. Maybe that card is can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, but if it's your monster, then you can destroy it. Or maybe you can link it off. Maybe this is a link deck. Who knows? There's only got the one fusion, but definitely a 3 of so far. Let's go ahead to our next level 1, Memento Goblin. This is a level 1 Dark Fiend, 400 attack and defense, and a little beer belly there, maybe laying off the crystals too much. And during the main phase, if you control Combined Creation, again, the big guy, you can discard this card. For the rest of the turn, your opponent cannot target mementos you control with card effects. During your main phase, you can destroy 1 memento you control, and if you do, send up to 2 mementos with different names from your deck to the graveyard, except Goblin. Is it memento monsters? No, it's memento cards. Alright, so you can send the fusion, use the fusion to pop something, get something. Alright, so let's go ahead. I think we want to play this at 3, if nothing else, just because you need 1 to be able to get 1 and then get... Oh, I guess you only... Yeah, I'm still putting it at 3. And this guy himself, I'm not sure if we have other graveyard effects, but I'm going to start with 3. We can always remove it if it's less needed. But something like that has almost the same thing as Mace and that gets you a search of essentially any spell trap. Like, this doesn't just search itself, it searches any of these. So if any of these are good, this works as a roundabout way to search any of the memento spell traps. And the field spell lets you set 1 from your graveyard during the end phase, right? Yeah. So you could just send it, and then during the end phase you get it back. I also like this interesting style where I guess it's all themed around the boss monster, because if you got the boss monster in these 2, there's your protection. You can make this untargetable, you can make this steal a card. It's unfortunate that this doesn't negate effects that do already target it. So if your opponent already has something, you can't just like activate this in response, but you can just like shotgun it in the draw phase if you're worried about something like that. Alright, up next we've got a level 2 Mementolin Gaddock, aka Memento Karibo. Don't tell me otherwise, that's a Karibo. I've seen enough Karibos in my day. Anyone who mentions Ghost in the Attic is getting banned down in the chat. This is a Dark Fiend, 550 attack, very strange, 400 defense. And if this card is normal or special summoned, target 1 memento in your graveyard, except a copy of itself, add it to your hand. If this card is sent to the graveyard by a memento monster's effect, you can special summon it. You can only use each effect once per turn. Alright, so this doesn't seem as good because we still don't have a way to special summon these. If it's sent to the graveyard, it's summoned, so I guess it gets more material on the field. I'm not sure if you want material on the field. Just getting 1 back. So far, this is the first one that I'm going to be like, it seems like a 1 of. Maybe if there's more ways to special summon it, it could probably be a combo, maybe a 2 or 3, but we'll see. Feeling kind of lukewarm on this guy. Up next, we have the level 3, Mementolin Anguish. This is a dark spellcaster, 800 attack, 1000 defense. If this card is normal or special summoned, add 1 memento from your deck to your hand, except for Anguish. Alright, so let's just go ahead. Before I even read the rest of it, we've got a second searcher has hit the field. And this one doesn't need to destroy stuff. So if you've got this and any way to get to Key Mace, you can like blow this up and then get to this. That seems pretty nice. Let's see what the rest of this is. You can target 1 level 2 or lower memento in the graveyard, destroy 1 memento you control, and if you do, special summon the targeted monster. You can only use each effect once per turn. Alright, so kind of assumes you have graveyard set up. Maybe you use the fusion, you get 2 in the graveyard. Normal summon this, grab another one, then special summon one of the ones out of the graveyard, destroy this, and then when this is summoned, you can destroy it and get... Okay, so I can see how... I'm kind of seeing how you can fill up your graveyard with a whole bunch of monsters, and then make your way towards the combined creator, right? Like, we're already seeing the ability to, like, destroy, search, send to, get one. And because this is level 3, if you have the field spell, you're getting another one out of the graveyard. And so far, nothing has locked you into the archetype, nothing has locked you into fusions. So I'm definitely sensing that we're going to have another Link-style deck. And while we're here, just seeing that we have level 3s, like normal summonable monsters that are just going to destroy, along with lower level ones, I'm going to go ahead and say that the field spell's a 3 of. Unless we have some way to, like, search it really easily. Which, I mean, I guess we have the fusion, but the fusion wants to get that. This seems like something you're going to want on. Maybe these other effects don't destroy, and it only really works with Anguish. Maybe you see these too many times. But I have a feeling that you're going to want these two to really get going. Alright, next up on the docket, we've got a level 4 Memento Dark Blade. Whoo! He's a level 4 warrior, 1800 attack. He's finally got some stats. And if this card is normal or special summoned, discard 1 Memento, target 1 spell trap your opponent controls, and destroy it. During your main phase, you can destroy 1 Memento you control, and if you do, special summon a level 3 or lower Memento from the deck. You go, wow. Every card's a searcher. Every single card is a searcher. We just got searchers out the wazoo. And this guy's just like graveyard setup while also popping a card. Kind of nice. This is another one of those effects where so far I don't think this is necessarily going to be a blind second deck. I don't think you have enough ability, at least from what I've seen so far, to really like chew through boards. Nor is this going to be a small enough engine that you can put a bunch of board breakers in. But it's always nice when you have a card that, like, you're gonna play at 3, it's gonna be your searcher, and just also on the off chance if you lose the coin flip and your opponent has like a floodgate or something, you can use this to pop it. Very nice, very cool, very based, Konami, thank you. And I'm also already seeing the combo here, right? If you have this, you can destroy a Memento you control, including itself, special summon the level 3. When this is go, you add 1 from your deck to your hand. If you discarded 1 with this, you could have a lower level in the graveyard, then you destroy 1. Is it only 1 your opponent controls? Yeah, so you can't destroy your own to get stuff. So still not a lot of ways to get things in the graveyard, and not a lot of ways to special summon, but we're getting there. We got some stuff. Let's see what else we got here. Next up, Memento Tatsunouchigo. Don't correct me, I know it's wrong. It's a reference to a Rada video. This is an Earth Beast, 1350 attack, 1600 defense, and it's a level 5, so can't be normal summoned. If you do not control any face-up monsters other than Mementos, you can special summon this card. Okay, well never mind, it's level 5 for like no reason. Also, this is phrased really weird, right? If you don't control any face-up monsters other than Mementos. I feel like this should say something like, if you control a face-up Memento monster or no monsters, you can summon this. Isn't that how other effects like this are worded? Does this get around something I'm not aware of? That's very strange. Either way, during the main phase, you can destroy 1 Memento you control and send any number of Mementos with different names from the deck to the graveyard whose levels are less than or equal to the destroyed monster's original level. You can only use each effect once per turn. Well, hot diggity daffodil, there we go. This guy, every time I think we've got to one, I'm like, okay, this is the play starter. Then I see this and I'm like, okay, now this is really the play starter. This is special summon, pop itself, send 3 cards to the graveyard, then you can normal summon this, do whatever. Just crazy. Pretty neat. Send any number of Mementos with different names from your deck. Okay. So you can't just send like 3 Mace and 2 Goblin and like completely deck thin. It has to be like 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess it's just 3. Yeah, 3 monsters total it looks like. Or you could send 1 Dark Blade if you want it in the graveyard for some reason. But yeah, a whole lot of things to make this go. I'm just wondering if this is a payoff, or maybe the traps are some payoff, or if it's really just all about making this one big monster. Let's find out. Let's go into Mementolin Horned Dragon. This is a Dark Dragon, 2850 attack, level 8 monster. If you have 3 or more Mementos with different names in your graveyard, you can special summon this from your hand. You can only special summon this once per turn this way. If this card on the field is destroyed, you could target 3 face-up cards on the field, including a Memento you control, and destroy them. You can only use this effect once per turn. Alright, so it's not really disruption unless we have some way to destroy it during the opponent's turn. I haven't seen that yet, but, you know, has the potential to do so, and it's basically an Icarus attack. It's 1 Memento you control and 2 cards your opponent controls. Pretty good going second. It's got a pretty good special summoning condition. Like, if you've activated the horse, you will have 3 in the graveyard, so you just get this for free. And, you know, if you've already got set up and then you summon the horse alongside this, you can pop it and just send, like, 1 of everything to the graveyard because you've blown up a level 8. Or blow up the level 11, you know, who needs the boss monster when you could just fill up the graveyard and draw Exodia next turn. Not sure necessarily if you want to play this at more than 1. We don't have a ton of recycling other than Gaddick, but we do have a lot of searching, so maybe it's just a 1 of that you want to get to add on. I think maybe a 2 of at most, but we could put 1 in the side deck, put a couple in the side deck, just in case. These are our thinking about it cards. Alright, so that's all the monsters. All we're left with now is the spells and traps. And there's actually 3 spells. I think I said there were 2 earlier. I don't see anything that would indicate that one is better than the other, so let's just go down the line, starting with Mementolin Boneback. Quick play spell. If a face-up Memento monster leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, special summon Combined Creation from your hand or deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. If your opponent moves a Memento out of the graveyard while this card is in the graveyard, you can banish it, special summon as many Mementos as possible with different names from your hand and or deck. You can only use each effect once per turn. Alright, this is a very interesting one. It reminds me of the Abyss Actor cards, where it requires your opponent to do something, which you never want to rely on effect that your opponent has to trigger by taking an action, because if your opponent knows about this, they won't activate it. But if they do, oh boy, is the payoff big. Being able to summon either your big 5,000 attack boss monster out of the deck, ignoring its summoning conditions, or as many Mementos out of the deck as you want, is just kinda crazy. And both of these are effects that, like, your opponent would make use of, you know. If they called by one of your Mementos, if they DD Crow, if they use a, what would it be, a Bestial? These are all dark. Yeah, except for this one. Well, if they Bestial any of these, you just get to summon, like, everything from the deck. But it requires your opponent to have this. So, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna keep 1 in for now. This is, like, in certain formats, it might be a mandatory 3 of. If there's Bestials everywhere or everyone's playing DD Crow, maybe you want to play more of this. Otherwise, I'm still going to say no, even though the payoff is really good, just because it's, you know, again, your opponent has to do something. And if they don't do that, then this card's just a brick. It doesn't do anything. It relies on your opponent. Next up on the block is Mementolin Bone Party. We're having a bone party, people. This is another quick play spell card. Destroy 1 Memento in your hand or face up on the field. Take 1 Memento from your deck with a different name and either add it to your hand or special summon it? Wow. During your main phase, you can banish this from the graveyard, target 1 Memento you control. If it attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing damage. You can only use each effect once per turn. Alright, so what is this, like their 4th searcher? They just got all these searchers. They're just having a bone party. Yeah, this is definitely a 3 of. It destroys in your hand, which is great. I forget, only one of these gets an effect when it's destroyed. It's this one. If this one's destroyed, it gets something, but oh boy. Maybe that means you want to play more Gaddicks? I don't know, we have like a million ways to search it, so maybe you get it and then you activate Bone Party. Just special summons out of the deck. Crazy. And it's got that bonus effect, which probably lets you OTK. I said before, like, if your opponent has 2 or 3 monsters in attack position, this just ends them. Now they don't even have to be in attack position because your main searcher also lets you do piercing. Crazy. Alright, so chat is pointing out that actually, This has to be sent to the graveyard by a Memento monster effect, so it doesn't have any synergy with Bone Party. There's no reason to use more than one of these. I'm not even sure if you want one of them. Maybe just to have more names, because you need 5 with different names, right? Yeah. So, I don't know. We're pretty light. I mean, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 7 names. So, you're pretty safe. Plus, I mean, I guess this can summon it out, ignoring the summoning conditions. Either way, I'm keeping it at 1 for now, at least until we have a better idea about what the deck's about. And let's look at these last 2 traps. Let's see if these can close anything out. We still don't have a whole lot of disruption, unless there's some way to pop this during the opponent's turn. Maybe this will do that? Mementolin Fracture Dance. Normal trap card, so you can get it off Trap Trick if you want. If you control a Memento monster, target 1 card on the field, destroy it. Then if you control the big guy, you can destroy 1 more card on the field. When an attack is declared involving your Memento monster and an opponent's monster, banish this from the graveyard. All monsters your opponent controls lose 1,000 attack until the end of this turn. You can only use each effect once per turn. Alright, that's pretty good disruption. Just if you control a Memento, destroy a card. If you control the boss, destroy 2. So why would you want to do this when you've already got a better Icarus attack? This doesn't even require you to destroy anything. It just requires you to have one on the field. And then, of course, that latter part just helps you OTK even harder. You know, you search, you get this sent to the graveyard, you set it with the field spell. Then, during your opponent's turn, you can pop 2 cards, and if you survive, you can attack everything for 5,000 while doing piercing, and if anything in attack, loses 1,000. So, they've at least got a set win condition. Let's just see what this last one does. Mementolin Cranium Burst! Ah, no wonder I have a headache. This is a continuous trap card, which, real quick, this is just... You can target 1 Mementolin spell trap. Okay, so it doesn't matter. It can be spell trap. Doesn't matter if it's continuous or anything. While you control a Memento monster, your opponent's monsters that can attack must attack the Memento with the highest attack. Their choice if tied. When your opponent activates a monster effect on the field, except during the damage step, target 1 of the big guy. It loses exactly 1,000 attack and defense, and if it does, negate that activated effect. You can only activate this effect of Cranium Burst once per chain? Okay, so it loses 1,000 attack and defense. That is permanent, but you have 5,000. So it's almost like an Appaloosa. I mean, it only negates effects on the field and not during the damage step, but you can use this several times, get this out, and this can be summoned from your hand or graveyard. So there's your go first play, you know? You summon this out, you set both traps if you can. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if there's another way to set the other trap, but if you get both of these, having like multiple monster negates and some pops, plus the ability maybe to fusion summon during your opponent's turn and make something else. Especially with this, like, you know, this has already used its stuff, then you can fusion summon it, make something else. And then you just summon this back next turn. Pretty neat. Pretty nice, I must say. I'm just not sure if it's worth playing it more than one. I'll have to read through these again and see if any of these search as spell traps. I feel like most of these were just monsters. Alright, so reading over everything again, Mace can search any Memento card, so that includes both of these traps. Fusion can set any Memento spell trap from the deck. The field spell can get any Memento spell trap in the graveyard, and during the end phase you set it back onto your field. And Gadget can get them out of the graveyard. This has to shuffle back monsters specifically. Everything else is like monsters specifically. But I feel like you have enough search power that you could probably get away with just playing both of these at one, and then just recycling them if they leave. Specifically just this one, right? Like, this is a continuous trap. Once you have this, you can just use it as many times as you want. This one you can get back. Assuming you even need more than one turn, I mean... Not sure you'd need to recycle if your follow-up is this guy. And again, we've gone through everything. Not a single lock on anything. Nothing that locks you into type, or fusions, or mementos, or even an attribute or whatever. So you can get all these, use them to make a whole bunch of links. So I'm thinking the rest of the extra deck, you're just filling up with links. Considering we're playing 3 of the fusion and you always want this to be live because then you can use it to extend your plays, we're going to go ahead and put another one of those dragons in there. And then the rest I'll probably just fill in with link monsters. In fact, let's do that real quick. And there you go. Check it out. It's mostly just generic stuff. You know, we got IP, we got SP, we got the Dark Charmer because it's like almost all dark monsters. We've got a Nightmare Phoenix, get stuff in the graveyard. Selene, because we do have a spellcaster and we have some spells, so that can go up into Access Code Talker or make Underworld Goddess easier. And possibly the only like real kind of spicy text we have is Assembled Nightingale, because I noticed we had several level 1s. We might get 2 of them on the field. That can easily go up into Zeus if you need to clear the board in order to get your plays going. And then also Selene. This was actually thanks to someone in chat. They pointed out that Anguish is a spellcaster that you're almost always going to have on the field at some point during it. You can send it to the graveyard since this is a link 1, and then the banish from SP only happens if you use a link monster. So this is a great way to make SP basically function like a link 2 instead of a link 3, right? Like you could just turn Witch into this and then any other monster makes SP with the banish. And then something else that chat pointed out is that Little Knight's second effect, the one where you banish a card on both players' field, can be used to reset Combined Creations attack. So if you can end on this and an SP and the trap, you've got like 4 monster negates, and then when they try to do something else, you could be like, this has served its purpose, get it off the field, protect it for now, next turn it comes back at 5,000, and then you can just go in for game, especially if you've got some of your spell traps in the graveyard. Alright, so next step in the process is to fill in all the rest of the deck with tech cards, and we will do that, but first, I'm kind of curious what these OCG cards are. We've got 2 cards, not out in Master Duel yet. We won't be using them in our build, but I want to see if they improve the deck or if it's just going to be more of the same in the future. So let's go ahead and take a peek just out of curiosity and see what these do while the archetype's fresh in our mind. We got Memento Mystic Sheep. This is a level 3 beast effect with 800 attack, 1000 defense. And if a monster in your possession was destroyed by a card effect this turn, quick effect, you can special summon this from your hand. If this card is normal or special summoned, except during the damage step, you can fusion summon 1 Memento from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as material. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can send 1 Memento from your deck to the graveyard except another copy of itself. You can only use each effect once per turn. Wow, so it just does everything. You know, when a card is destroyed, special summon it, and given this deck, you're gonna be destroying your cards, baby. And then when it's summoned, it does a thing immediately. Fusion summons, have to use the monsters on your hand or field, but that's a great way to get into the Twin Dragon, which can get you 2 other cards. It can also potentially get the other fusion monster we've got there. And then if it's destroyed, Foolish Burial. So it just does everything. I'd probably play this at 3 as well. It's just another, not like starter, but it's like the extender to end all extenders. It does whatever you want it to do, baby. As for the fusion monster, it's a level 9, so not quite as big as Combined Creation, but definitely bigger than the Twin Dragon. And it's an Earth Illusion monster with 3,000 attack, 2,000 defense, and it requires any 3 Memento monsters. You can banish this card from your graveyard, add 1 Memento McTalon from your deck to your hand. I think that's the field spell? Yeah, that's the field spell. Okay, so it searches that in the graveyard, and then you cannot activate the following effects in the same chain. If this card is fusion summoned, send 3 Memento cards from your deck and or extra deck to the graveyard. And then quick effect, target an equal number of Memento monsters you control and cards your opponent controls, destroy them. You can only use each effect once per turn. Okay, interesting. So when it's summoned, you get to Foolish Burial 3, and then you can quick effect pop stuff, but you can't quick effect pop as soon as it's summoned. You gotta do one, and then the other. That does seem kind of neat. It gives them more quick effect pop, so it's more disruption during your opponent's turn, although you already got 2 quick effect pops. I'm not sure why you need even more of the same kind of removal. I think I would prefer like 1 banish over another 3 pops, but Then again, I haven't actually played the deck yet, so I don't know. Definitely seems kind of neat, but I'm not sure. I mean, I guess if nothing else, you know, it's something you can get off of the fusion that does something. Although, in order to use the most out of that effect, to pop more cards, you would need to leave a bunch of mementos on the field instead of converting them into link monsters or whatever. Seems alright. Honestly, I think the sheep seems a little bit better. Definitely improvements to the deck. They would certainly see play in it, but it doesn't really change up the entire play style or really the end board. I think just instead of making this, you're going to set up to make Guardian Chimera. Which, yeah, now that I'm looking at it, this is definitely looking like a go first build. Even though it has the potential to OTK a whole bunch, what you really want to do is like set up combined creation, set both of your traps, set fusion, make SP Little Knight, and then you're going to have like 4 monster negates, 2 pops, the ability to fuse into 2 more pops and a draw, or 1 pop and 2 draws, or a Dragos Tapelia. Then you can banish 2 cards, and then on the follow-up you've got big beefy guy. And now that we know that, I think it's clear what we gotta do. At the risk of being kind of boring, we've only got 10 spots left, so we might as well just add in the dang old Master Duel tax. 3 Ash, 3 Max C, called by, I guess we go ahead and put in, what's it called, Crossout Designator. And then we get 1 more card. We want like a backup of the combined creation in case one gets destroyed. We don't really have a way to get it back, or maybe another horned dragon. I'm gonna go with another horned dragon. And with that, we have ourselves a full deck. And as I said at the beginning of this, you know, it's definitely not the best Memento deck. I don't know if these ratios are proper. I'm sure there's some stuff we want to remove, some stuff in the extra deck we want to change out, different tech cards we might want to consider, or even make room for more tech cards. But, you know, designing in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is an iterative process. Don't worry about getting it right the first time. Feel free to experiment with a build, try it out, see how it works, and then learn from whatever mistakes you have. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to take this, I'm going to play some test hands, see if I can figure out a combo that does what I want the deck to do, and once I do, I'll come back and show it off for you. Show you like how we can, you know, get this deck to work.
Mentos, the fresh maker.
Alright, so after messing around with the deck for a while and trying to learn combos, I figured out a 1-card combo that works with this horse. If you open with the horse, you can do a whole bunch of stuff. And if you don't open with the horse, that's fine, because you've got about 4 cards that search the horse, and those usually give you better combos because you'll have a monster on the field plus this. Remember, you can special summon this as long as you have any memento on the field or nothing on the field. Just don't try to get it while you have a link or whatever. But yeah, you'll special summon this, and then you use its effect to destroy a memento, and send mementos from the deck to the graveyard who have equal levels. And you want to send the 1 Gaddock, and then 2 level 1s. Which is not quite 5, but you know it's close enough. When this is sent to the graveyard by a memento card, you can special summon it. When this is summoned, you can get a memento out of your graveyard and add it to your hand. And you're going to add Key Mace, because Key Mace searches any memento card when it's normal summon. So you can normal summon it, activate the effect. Oh, you got to pop a card, so we'll pop that. And you want to get Memento Fusion, at least in this case. The interesting thing about this deck is that there's a whole bunch of ways to get to the same end board, depending on what you have. Obviously, if you already open with this, you can get something else and extend even further. But this is showing you what you can do with just 1 card. So if you got the 1 card, you get the fusion, and then we're going to go and activate that. Since a card was destroyed this turn, we can make the Twin Dragon by shuffling the monsters in the graveyard back into the deck. And we want to use the 2 whose effects we've already used, because we can't use them anymore this turn. So we summoned the Twin Dragon. Ooh, ah. When this is summoned, you can pop a card, and then you can get 2 cards from your deck to your hand. And we're going to get the Combined Creation, and you can get any other memento that you don't already have in the graveyard, or that we haven't used yet. In this case, I'm going to use Trihorn Dragon, but it doesn't really matter. Just as long as it's another name. You just need another name. Then we're going to use the fusion effect in the graveyard. We're going to pop a card we control, get the field spell. This says when it's destroyed, you could summon one from the graveyard. So we're going to get the one we haven't used that yet, which is the Goblin. So we need 5 names total in order to summon this. We've got 1, 2, 3 in our hand, 4 when Goblin destroys itself, and Goblin sends 2 cards from the deck to the graveyard. So you've got to send another name that you don't have yet, because it's got to be different names, and then whichever trap you prefer, either the pop 2 or the 4 negates. Let's go with the, I guess it's 5 negates technically. You're probably never going to get all 5 of them off, but we'll do that. Then you activate the field spell, and you special summon the Combined Creator by shuffling the 5 cards from your graveyard and hand back into the deck. Away they go! So we'll put this in defense mode, and then end our turn, and during the end phase, the field spell will set whatever trap that you set there. So now we've got our big Memento Combined Creator, which will be able to lower its attack by 1,000 to negate monster effects. Of course, the test deck is just a bunch of low-level normal summons and stuff, and you really don't want to draw this. This is something I think if I was making this again, I'd only play it at 1 because it's a neat extender, but you have so much searching you don't really care, and recycling with this guy. But yeah, that's your big combo. And again, just if you had, 4 other cards in hand, you would not only have the extension to play through Disruption if one of those cards get ashed. If they try to imperm, you can dodge out of it with your quick play spell. But if you already have some of these cards that we were searching, you can search more cards, special summon out. It's really unfortunate that there's not a whole lot of special summons in this deck. Really, it's just the horse. And then once you've got 3 in the graveyard, you could special summon this, but all it is like material or whatever. So after having tested that, I'd probably take this out. I'd have to see how it works going up against Disruption, but I don't think you need that. And you probably don't want 3 of the field spell. I mean, it can kind of help you extend a little bit, but I think you're probably fine with 2. Which means you have room for another, trap or whatever, Let's go ahead and get, an imperm in here. I've also probably, after going through this, maybe take out this, take out that, and put in something like a Link Karibo. Link Karibo might be good. You might also want the Relinquished Anima, just some level 1s, because I found there are times when you really want these level 1s in the graveyard, and you've either already used their effects, or you don't want to use their effects for one reason or another. Because you can summon this by shuffling the cards from your hand or graveyard, but not your field. So you kind of got to be careful about not summoning this even though you have the ability to, because you prefer to just shuffle it from the hand to get this out. And yeah, if I messed around with this deck a little bit more, if I played some more practice duels, learned the ins and outs, I'm sure we'd be able to shave this down some more, get some more tech cards in here, find out what we want, what we don't want, maybe play a Rhoda for the Dark Blade if that's better. These level 1s, you might be able to play at 2. This is a pretty good starter, but you kind of prefer to get one of these or one of these. These 2 are better starters most of the time. But it really depends kind of what the format you're playing it. But we've at least got a good start here. You've got a decent basic framework to understand the deck, and hopefully from here you can build on it. I've been playing these combos for about 30 minutes now, so I'm not really interested in playing it again. Took me long enough just to figure out that one combo. But I can definitely see the potential here. They're neat. They do a lot of neat stuff. There's a lot of destruction, moving pieces. It's got a very non-linear combo that kind of, all roads lead to Rome. One way or another, you're gonna get this out and you're gonna get some traps on the field. How exactly you do that? A very complicated thing, especially if your opponents have more disruption than you have to worry about. But I get the basic premise. And also, now that you know kind of how this works, you're playing against this on Master Duel, your opponent activates this to send cards from the deck to the graveyard, you ash that. Always ash the horse. The horse is very, very strong. If you've learned nothing else from that, now you know kind of how to fight these guys. Assuming they already combo off and you have this and the traps out, good luck. But anyway, that's enough for now. Thank you all for watching. Remember to like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and let me know down in the comments if there's any other decks you'd like me to try to build or whatever. Or you know, let me know if you learned anything, if you ended up building this deck yourself. Otherwise, thank you again to Twitch chat for coming down here, keeping me company. Thank you to my co-host, Critter. Critter, you haven't said anything this episode. You want to say something now? How can you be so controversial and so brave at the same time? Thank you, Critter. And yeah, until next time, good luck and have fun.